Exodus of people from Kashmir Valley did not happen just towards the last part of the last century, but also it has happened just after partition also. Repeatedly, some criminal activity has occurred in the valley that had forced large number of people to migrate from the valley. The valley that we all call it as the paradise of the world, and people have been forced to leave their hearth and home for their own safety and for their own succor. Return of the Pandit community to their homeland is a strategic imperative to ensure that a credible Indian civil presence is maintained in the Kashmir Valley. But can the beleaguered community return as a part of a larger Kashmiriyat family, even if ensconced in composite township? That is the question that needs to be answered. Or will they continue to remain hostages to militancy inside India? This is the dilemma confronting the Kashmiri Pandits and has to be addressed by the state and the union government. The return of Pandits to Kashmir will be opposed by pro-Pakistan fifth columnist in that valley. Given the history of their exodus, insurgency in Kashmir and the results thrown up by the assembly elections, the Ghar Wapsi, as we call it, of Kashmir Pandit will be a watershed movement in Indian history, but it can come about only if the government of India intervenes directly in the process. Paving the way for the return requires major political restructuring in the valley itself. This country of ours, watched with a growing sense of frustrated outrage as Masarat Alam, an active, within quote, hate India leader in Kashmir, calmly stalked out of jail. Mr. Alam is the emerging face of Kashmir separatism, and Srinagar downtown parade welcoming him could be an ominous signal. Sir, there has been Wahhabi mindset that is engulfing the western borders of our country. Large part of Pakistan also, which was at one point of time influenced by Sufism, was of a composite culture, has been totally, in a great sense totally, has been influenced by Wahhabi culture. And what does Wahhabi mindset is? Wahhabi mindset is, which emanates from a small group of people of Saudi Arab. They think they are the purest people in this earth. Then the rest, either they have to believe them, have to adopt their religion, otherwise they have no right to live in this country. And that is what IS, Islamic State, is now propagating in Syria and in Iraq. So therefore, to keep India or Indians protected, there is a need also to counter that type of cultural expansion of Wahhabi mindset that is creating a problem in our country. We should also remember, sir, that when forces supported by Pakistan Army came into Kashmir, by that time King Hari Singh was yet to sign an accord with Indian government. Then when the Indian forces went to Kashmir Valley, went to Srinagar to stand or to oust the Pakistani marauders, there is a artificial line that has been constructed by dividing Kashmir. One is Pak-occupied Kashmir, one is the Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, that is the part of India. But what is the societal position in that both part of Kashmir? The part of Kashmir that is with Pakistan is majority, is Sunni dominated. The large part that is with India is Shia dominated. So today I was not surprised when 2-3 days back when Dr. Farooq Abdullah said, let that part be with Pakistan, let this part be with India. This is a mindset which is being said. And though it is political in nature, it has something to do with the Shia and Sunni divide. That division has occurred since 1948. But that division is something which needs to be corrected also. Corrected in the sense that the conflict between these two communities of Islam has to be addressed both by the leaders of Shia and Sunni, and Kashmir should not become a cauldron of their competition. There is a need to have composite township, no doubt. But the fact is, in our villages, don't we have communities living separately? Don't we have people of specific caste living separately in our village? Don't we have communities of different religion living in different parts in that village? They do. So if in Kashmir an idea was floated that let the Pandits also go back to the valley and live separately, why should we say that we are ghettoizing them? That means we don't want them to go there. If the idea is to send them to Kashmir, who are part of that civilization, that culture, to bring in Kashmiriyat, they used to live as they were living there, and accordingly that should have been done. And recently, the Jammu and Kashmir, as I mentioned last week, on another occasion while participating in the discussion, Jammu and Kashmir government has come out with a statement before the Supreme Court of India. When the court asked how many families have returned back after all the packages and all the things that have been done with the elected government that has come in Jammu and Kashmir, how many families have gone back? Only one family. Only one family had returned back to Kashmir Valley. Sir, I would mention here one thing. The debate that goes on in Jammu and Kashmir relating to the settlement of Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir is one that will only bring pain to a true nationalist. By 1990, and here I'm not quoting anyone, but here I would only say there was a time, and time changes. And with the change of time, there is a need to also change the mindset, and accordingly we have to create position there. And as divergent views emerged from the newly formed BJP-PDP coalition government in Jammu and Kashmir, when Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh hinting there was no going back on the plans for a separate settlement for the displaced community in the valley. And government is firm on that aspect. Sources, as has been claimed, that Prime Minister's clear directive on this was that the government must honor its commitment on the rehabilitation of the Kashmiri Pandits, and they should aggressively pursue this. And we were told, and I quote here one of the officers that has been reported in Asian Age on 10th April 2015. We are committed to the resettlement of nearly 62,000 registered Kashmiri migrant families who have moved out of the valley when militancy broke out in 1989. Most of these families have moved either to Jammu, Delhi and other parts of the country. So the center has a clear view on this, that the state government has to provide land and quickly for making separate townships for Pandits, as this will give a greater sense of security to the community, the senior officer had mentioned. But what has happened? And while answering to a question on 15th July last year, the Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of State for Home Affairs said, at present there are about 60,452 registered Kashmiri migrant families in the country, not persons, families. About 38,119 registered Kashmir migrant families are residing in Jammu, and about 19,338 registered Kashmiri migrant families are living in Delhi. And besides Jammu and Delhi, about 1,995 families are settled in other states. And this is because of the onset of militancy in 1990, when most of the Kashmiri families, along with the families of Sikhs and Muslims, migrated from Kashmir Valley. It's not only only Kashmiri Pandits. Muslims also migrated because of the militancy. And Sikhs also migrated because there was some killing that had taken place. At present, the reply says, and this is the point which I think the government can respond to, because this was in 2014. The government has been providing cash relief of 1650 per head per month, maximum rupees 6,000 per family per month, plus dry ration. Eligible 17,248 families living in Jammu, and this is the amount of relief that is being provided. Is this sufficient? Is this adequate? Or you are thinking of increasing this relief a bit more? Under Prime Minister's package, 2004, 5,242 two-room tenements have been constructed in Jammu at 4 locations and allotted to migrants who are living in various one-room tenements. How pitiable conditions it is. Persons have left their fields, their home, their earth, and are living in one-room tenement, in two-room tenement, and within last 25 years, since 1989-90, it is already 25 years. The family must have grown. What adequate provision has been made for them? What steps have been taken for them? Of course, the number of governments have changed, but this is the pitiable condition about which my friend Nishikant Dubey has brought this question. A comprehensive package amounting to 1,618.40 crore was announced by the government in 2008. But how much money has been spent and for what? That needs to be. On 29th July 2014, and we are in December 2015. Chilling accounts, and this I would like to say this because we have to recollect what were the position then, and this was published in the Tribune. Chilling accounts of murders and rapes returned to haunt 55-year-old Ramesh Raina the moment he mentions his homeland, Kashmir. And he says, I can never forget that night. I can still feel the jitters, says the physician who fled from his Srinagar home on the intervening night of January 19 and 20, 1990. Long settled in Delhi as a migrant, Raina recalls with despair the events that led to his escape. My wife was 4 months pregnant, and I had just bought a flat. Outside on the streets, mayhem was playing out. Loudspeakers were constantly blaring out one warning, Kafiron, bhag jao. We were scared to death after the killing of our tallest leader, Tikalal Taplu, and the gruesome murder of another Pandit, D.N. Chaudhary, whose eyes the militant gouged out. Terrorists' policy was to kill one and scare 100, scare 1,000. We escaped in my flat and never returned, wondering if the conditions that drove them out of the valley had ceased to exist. Should I narrate more? And this he is saying in 2014. We are in 2015 December. This occurred in 1990. The question he has posed through this newspaper is a question to the nation. I would not say he is posing this question to the government alone. He is posing this question to the nation. Has things changed in the valley? And what did our Parliament Standing Committee on Home Affairs relating to rehabilitation of J&K Jammu and Kashmir migrants have stated in 2009. And I would like to understand from this government, because I believe this government is responsive, will answer to certain questions that are posed before this House. And there it has said, there is a Kashmir division and the secretary. There is a Jammu and Kashmir migrants immovable property. And here is a very intriguing question that arises from this report. And that intriguing question is, the secretary in the presentation also stated that efforts were being made to restore the temples in the valley affected by militancy. The following are the details. Number of temples prior to 1989 was 436. Temples intact, 266. Temples got damaged, 170. Temples renovated is 90. What happened to the rest 80 temples there? I would like to understand from this government, with a new dispensation in Srinagar and Jammu, how many temples have been restored after this report has been submitted in 2009. In this figure, I find 80 temples missing. I'm not talking about the house, the hearth and homes of Kashmir Pandits alone. I'm asking this government, how many temples? Renovated was 90. Demolished was 170. What has happened to the rest 80 temples? Have they been restored? Have they been renovated? Have Kashmir Pandits gone back to their home to pray in the temple where their parents were praying, where their children were supposed to go? The recommendation of this committee had stated, the committee is also of the opinion that the government should explore the possibility of declaring all the properties, movable and immovable, sold by the displaced person after 1989-90 as distress sales within court, and declare the sales as null and void, and accordingly restore possessions of the properties back to the respective Kashmir Pandits who were the recorded owners through the custodian of the properties duly constituted. What has happened? This is a report of 2009. An action taken report must have been submitted before this House, or it has not come. I had tried to find out actually what action taken note has been submitted by the then Home Minister. If it has come, let the country know, as it is being said in the TV, let the nation know. Nation wants to, yes. Under the Act, the competent authority has been authorized, this is the reply, to take action for eviction of the unauthorized occupants. If this is the action taken by the government, telling us that somebody is authorized to take action, we would like to understand what action has been taken actually at the ground. The properties sold after the enactment of the Act are not covered under relief under this Act. This is the reply which we get. Therefore, the recommendation was, the committee strongly feels that there should be a blanket ban on the acquisition of the property of Kashmiri Pandits by the state government. The Jammu and Kashmir Migrants Immovable Property Preservation, Protection and Restraints on Distress Sale Act 1997 should be implemented in letter and spirit. Another recommendation was, the committee is of the considered view that the word migrant used in the context of Kashmir displaced person is not an appropriate expression, because the affected persons had been forced to give up their homes and hearths against their own will due to the mayhem caused by the militants. Sir, I'm repeating these. These are all records, property of the Parliament, and the government is supposed to work on this. And government is a continuous process. If the previous government has not acted, I expect that this government would act on the recommendation of the committee that had submitted its report. Sir, isolated and ostracized, only 651 families. These are people who have left. I was mentioning about the temples that were destroyed, not restored. But there were still some families who stayed back in the valley. And the resolution that has been moved by Mr. Nishikant Dubey, of course, does not cover them, but the problem also they face. 651 families comprising around 2,500 persons are left in the valley, who endured one of the most violent periods in recent history of Jammu and Kashmir. About 3.5 lakh Hindus had left the valley after militant organization started a selective killing campaign in 1989. But thousands of families stayed back in the hope that the situation would improve. They feel discriminated against as non-migrant Pandits have been kept out of every relief and rehabilitation package announced by successive governments for people living in Jammu and other parts of the country. It is estimated that there were 19,000 Hindus in Kashmir in 1998. But following the Sangrampura and the Wadhwa massacre, the population has reduced to 10,000 in 2002. In 2003, there was another exodus after militants killed 23 members of a minority community in Nadibar, Pulwama. Since then, the exodus continues. Sir, and here I come to the crux of the issue. Who are those people who had threatened the Kashmiri Pandits? Who are those people who killed the other minority community people in Pulwama? Who are those people who even today are threatening others that if they come, they won't be safe? One may say, as Sogadda may say, they are fifth columnists. They are supporters of Pakistan. But what does our government do? They claim that they are political activists. I would like to understand from the Ministry of Home Affairs how much money this government is spending for protection to provide them security when they move around not only in the valley, when they come to Delhi to meet the Pakistan High Commissioner. You have all those records. You have allocation for them. Don't you provide them security? How many people are being protected like this? Let that answer come from the government. How many such people are being provided protection, security by this government, who are every day, day in and day out, the moment they get a chance to speak, they speak against this country, against India, against this nation. Yet we provide them protection. Yet we provide them security. And our people, our citizens are not allowed to go to Kashmir. Therefore, I have moved that amendment, sir. It is necessary, of course, it is necessary. Return of Kashmir Pandits has to be rooted in uninterrupted inter-community dialogue. And we have to identify those saner persons who are there in the valley. And we have to interact with them, not with these people who day in and day out, I did not name them and make them hero here. We have to interact with them. It may take time to sort out and reconcile these sharply opposed narratives and arrive at a consensus on some bare and bold truths, which may be unpalatable as
Mehtabji, just a minute. Just a minute. Honourable members, I am to inform that 2 hours time allotted for discussion on the resolution is almost over. As there are 8 more members to take part in the discussion, we have to extend the time for further discussion in the resolution. If the House agrees, the time for discussion of the resolution may be extended by 1 hour.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
As I was saying, sir,
Since 1 hour is left and 8 more speakers have to speak, you'll cooperate with me.
at least a beginning can be made. Those who have a political agenda, those who always come out with the statement that when an election takes place, they give a call that you boycott participating in the election. Let them today say, let them express regret. Let them today say what had happened was wrong. At least that will give a good signal that peace and tranquility will prevail in the valley. Until and unless they say this, why should this government provide them security? Why should? I have this question to ask. And while concluding, sir, pragmatism lies in, first of all, toning down rhetoric and then reaching out to each other. And that is why an effort by a valley-based civil society group comprising of Muslims, Pandits, Sikhs, is a wholesome one. And that attempt can be made by the government, by the elected government of Jammu and Kashmir. That would be a very good beginning. The government must facilitate this move and allow various groups to meet and interact with each other, and ultimately be open to incorporate the suggestions that emerge from these discussions before a return policy is put in place. And while coming back to my addendum to the resolution, I would say, large number of people migrated because of the political situation during the partition time. They never thought that Pakistan will ultimately become a being and it will survive. I think Home Ministry is aware that those people who migrated from the other part of Kashmir, they are integral part of this country. It is Pak occupied, no doubt, but it is integral part of our country. No matter how artificial that line of control may be, how long it will remain, I have my doubts.
Please conclude now.
But I would say, those who migrated in 1948, those who are migrating after that, they also should be settled. They may be settled in Jaipur, they may be settled in Rajasthan, they may be settled in some other parts of the country. But they have a right to go back to the valley. We should not restrain them under certain pretext. They have every right because they are part of that valley, part of that Kashmir. With these words I concluded. And I support this resolution, and my request would be to this House that this House should unanimously support the resolution that has been moved by Nishikantji and the addendum that has been added by me to that resolution. Thank you.
आपने देखा मैडम जो कल का जो प्रोवोकेशन क्या था, हमने सोचा खरगे जी बताएंगे कल प्रोवोकेशन क्या था। कोई नोटिस नहीं दिया, आपसे बातचीत किया नहीं, आपको भी बताया नहीं, हमको भी बताया नहीं, उनको भी मालूम नहीं है वो क्यों हंगामा कर रहे हैं, उनको भी मालूम नहीं।